One of three things are about to happen with the Ripple versus SEC lawsuit. We're going to be discussing the outcome or the potential outcome and what might actually happen to the price action of XRP on the back of it. As I get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, smash that like button. We do appreciate that. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, tapping the bell, selecting all the notifications, and you will stay up to date with all the updates that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. If you haven't yet joined us in Discord, check it out, guys. Linked in the description down below. It's a fantastic community talking crypto 24/7. It's completely free, and I don't think you'll be disappointed by what you find down there. If you're looking for a little bit more from the crypto space, why not check out the Patreon services or even become a YouTube member using the join button down below. Let's jump right down into this one, guys. We've got a few things to kind of discuss, and the main kind of topic is going to be what has been going on with Ripple versus SEC and what is potentially going to happen here in March 2023, right? There's basically three potential outcomes, and there's a lot of things to discuss in here. This particular article, specifically about how the US is not really crypto friendly. It's regulation through enforcement, and essentially a lot of companies are moving out. They're moving out of the US, and they're pursuing more regulatory friendly environments for their businesses. And so there's a big risk to the US economy and innovation, essentially, when it comes to where the future of cryptocurrency is actually going to end up. For example, in the UK, we want to be the centralized hub of cryptocurrency, which obviously is a play on words with centralization, decentralization, all that kind of stuff. But basically, we want to be a hub for crypto. And you may agree or disagree with the approaches and all that kind of stuff. I think there's positivity in places and negativity in some as well. It's worth noting. Now, in here, essentially, we do see some discussions being said about how 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗪𝗔𝗡, this is chief legal officer at Ripple, basically is saying in an interview that, go to a jurisdiction where rules are clear, not a light touch, but clear. And essentially, that's kind of his saying, if you're going to be launching a project, you want to be potentially going somewhere where you have at least clear guidance to be able to follow, and not something that you can be 5-6 years down the line sued over something that you did in the past, right? Because regulations all of a sudden emerge, or worse, you're trying to just force regulation through the enforcement action in itself. In the case of the SEC, obviously we know that Gary Gensler should go to jail for everything that he's been doing. He is not living up to his mission statement at the SEC. We know that. That's very clear. Essentially, on this side of the world, it just seems incredibly insane that someone who is supposed to protect retail investors essentially has done so much damage and should be held accountable for his actions. And jail time is the only way I can see anyone taking that position lightly. But there we go. We had Jay Clayton on his very last day drop the lawsuit, hand it over to Gary Gensler, and Gary Gensler has not exactly helped the situation in any way, shape, or form. Billions of dollars of damage has been done, all at the hands of the SEC. So yes, I think jail time is definitely something that we should be seeing for some of these select individuals. Nonetheless, let's kind of progress with this article, because I'm going to go on a tangent talking about how I think Gary should go to jail. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole just yet. We'll keep that one maybe for another day. But as we kind of move through this article, there are some interesting things, right? Essentially, we do see that within the next few weeks, potentially, the judge is going to present one of three possible outcomes. Okay, so essentially one of three. So the judge will basically side with Ripple, and Ripple will win. Okay, I think that is incredibly unlikely, but we always have hope that that is going to be the one that does prevail. The second thing would be that the judge decides with the SEC and Ripple lose, and it's bad for crypto all round, and a lot of people are going to be leaving the US on the back of that, because there's no point in staying somewhere with regulations or enforcement, regulations through enforcement, the way that the SEC are doing it. Or there's number three, right? The third option, which is that the judge says, let's go to trial. Okay, and I personally think number two and number three are the most probable. And there's some kind of logic twisted to this. So hear me out. You may disagree. Let me know in the comments down below. But essentially, if the judge sides with the SEC, I feel that there is corruption that's spread, right? We know that the SEC is incredibly corrupt, quite clearly, by how they're going after so much of this crypto money without actually really giving the clarity that is required, but before kind of pursuing these lawsuits. So it does feel very much like there's corruption corruption at that level of the SEC. And I think that it's very clear to see that the SEC do not really have a strong case when it comes to XRP being a security. That doesn't really fit the Howey test, and you're trying to bend and manipulate the rules to kind of suit your own narrative. This is coming from the SEC's perspective, of course. But essentially, if a judge were to side with that, then they've got to be just as culpable to that level of corruption, because I cannot see a logic that says the SEC should win, not from a through and through, right? We can see that essentially other jurisdictions around the world have declared that XRP is either an exchange token or a currency of some kind. It is not a security. It's very clear it doesn't fit the rules of security. So it just seems very odd that a judge would side with the SEC. And if it does, then it does kind of lead me down that thought pattern of, okay, was the judge bull? And all that kind of stuff. Now, that's wild speculation. I do not know anything. I do not believe that that's necessarily going to be the case. But it would be very odd behavior, in my opinion, for the judge to side with the SEC. Instead, I think the most probable scenario would be for it to go to trial. Basically, points on both sides need arguing out, and they can make their case. Obviously, we want Ripple to win. It would be good for crypto all round, right? Even if we're not fans of XRP, which that isn't true here to the channel, we're big fans of XRP. We think XRP is a fantastic cryptocurrency and serves a very good use case. And I think that's something that we should all acknowledge. However, even if we do not like XRP, and if you're not a fan of XRP, then you should acknowledge that actually the lawsuit is very critical to the very existence of cryptocurrency over in the United States. And this is basically because if a win for the SEC against Ripple in this case, that could be used as ammunition against pretty much any other US-based cryptocurrency. And so if there are projects out there that do not meet the requirements of the security in the same way that XRP doesn't, but all of a sudden the SEC have this case under their wing, they can just use this and say, look, Ripple was a security, and therefore you are a security too. Pay up, or we'll take you to court. So this is really damaging, I think, essentially, when it comes to the cryptocurrency space. So very, very key that everyone in crypto pays attention to how the SEC behave and whether or not the SEC are going to be victorious in this lawsuit. So one of three things will happen in the month of March, in my opinion. I think it's going to happen this month. It could be delayed a little bit, but we've seen enough. I think it should happen really, really soon. Essentially, so we'll have either Ripple winning, the SEC winning, or it will go to trial. I think the trial is probably where it's going to go, but, I'd like to be surprised. We'll see how that kind of goes. Now, it's not an issue of fraud or market manipulation. It's a question of law, according to the chief legal officer. So, for the most part, really, really interesting. Now, if the if the judge sides with the SEC, Ripple can and will immediately appeal. So just put that into context, right? Even if the judge decides that, given all the evidence that's put in front of them and all of the things and that the SEC had to kind of redo because of their poor efforts on this case and everything that they were trying to dodge, and they still come out victorious, it's a no-brainer that Ripple will, of course, appeal it, right? So immediately they will appeal it. And the case would go up to the United States Court of Appeal for second opinion. And then the next step would be to the Supreme Court. And there's a lot of ifs between now and the Supreme Court case. But he does add the following. I would be supremely confident that this is a winner in a Supreme Court, not so much because of the crypto issue, but because of the guarding against building an administrative state. He adds that the current court is a conservative majority. So essentially here, he's incredibly confident, and I would be too if it were to go that far. So I think a lot is riding on the case, not only for crypto as a whole, but also for the US. I think they're going to be stunting their own growth if they do not really get on board with cryptocurrency. But it wouldn't surprise me. This case has gone on for a very long time at this point. So it will be interesting to kind of see how the judge does rule this one. So do watch out for all of that. From a technical standpoint on the charts, we can see that we have a bit of a bull flag emerging here. Okay, so this is a positive. Not many cryptocurrencies are currently following this one. I think the market on XRP is gearing up for a bigger move. We can kind of see that in here. We have had this call off. And I say this all the time. You'll be familiar with the terminology. Higher highs and higher lows have a tendency to break to the downside. As we can see over here, for example, higher highs, higher lows, you break to the downside. And when you have lower highs and lower lows, you tend to break to the upside. This is what we are seeing also right now over here. We're seeing this mini version. I don't think it's going to be a major move because, as I said, I believe this will go to trial. There'll be some kind of speculation about it. It'll push price up temporarily, and then I think we'll pull back down. But I would like to be wrong. I'd like us to kind of get a lot of FOMO action. I'd like to see XRP listed again on many of the US-based exchanges, or at least the ones that the SEC are not, viciously attacking, for example, or the US are viciously attacking. So caution a little bit with that, but for the most part, I think the FOMO will be pretty strong when we actually kind of see conclusion to the case. And I've said it before, I don't think it will actually matter whether it's a win, lose, draw for the immediate kind of price action. There'll be FOMO regardless. But if Ripple do lose this case, it will really significantly impact the crypto space going forward. So be aware that there's a lot of agendas, there's lots of narratives right now. It's not going to be a straight line move up to the moon or anything like that. And the price action will be pretty interesting to say the least. We can, of course, acknowledge that we have kind of consolidated on our trend line. Okay, we had this touched 4 times and we've started to kind of consolidate right onto this trend line. So this next break, if we were to break up, it's not a guarantee, but if we were to have a break to the upside, it could be pretty powerful for the price action of XRP. Essentially, though, I still see us consolidating back down after. As I said, my expectation is that it will go to trial. Don't want it to, but that's kind of where I'm kind of pessimistically thinking. And I think we'll have a kind of a move back up into the consolidation range around 50 cent, and then probably come back down and consolidate in these lower ranges once again. So I don't think we're going to the moon yet, but from a price action point of view, it is very clear that we're setting something up for a move to the upside. So it'll be interesting to kind of see how that plays out. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Do you think it's going to be a win for Ripple? Do you think that it's going to be a win for the SEC? Or do you think it will go to trial? Let me know. Really interested to kind of gauge everyone's thoughts and opinions. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. If you found this useful, informative, smash that like button. Guys, until the next one, have a fantastic day.